there's my information. You might want to write that down if you want to email me or talk to me. But I've been a pastor. I've been an executive presbyter. I've been with the board about 5 years. And my wife's a pastor. My daughter's a pastor. My son plays in Presbyterian churches on keyboard. So we're all in on this. And but it's good to be with you. And so I'm going to go through some things. And I want this to be a conversation, so that if there's something that you have a question about, you can unmute your mic and ask a question or raise your hand or whatever and get my attention. But I want to go through this, and I have a hard stop at 1:45, so I need to get on another meeting. I got pushed. So I'm going to go through this, and if we have any questions, you can email me or call me. But we're going to talk about benefit groups and the strategies, some of the strategies you can use around that. Also, some of the eligibility, the changes to the plan, and making sure you fill out your employer agreement, and some of the issues around that, some of the new resources that are available to help people fill out their employer agreements and do the annual enrollments. So just in background, you know that we've been on this journey in opening up benefits from the one-size-fits-all to the menus to what we have now, opening it up even more through minister's choice, keeping pastors' participation, but allowing more benefits to flow to more people, more eligibility, so that more church workers who give their life to Christ are supported. So I'm going to talk about this journey we've been on about opening up more benefits to more. Here's what you're somewhat familiar with, but I want to explain what's happened. We went back, we hadn't really updated some of the wording in our plan, so we've updated that into 3 programs. Retirement programs with the defined benefit pension plan and the retirement savings plan through Fidelity 403B, a tax advantage plan. Then we have financial protection plans. We have a death and disability plan. We've got term life that you as an employer can buy for lay employees. I'm going to be talking to you about temporary disability and long-term that are now both embedded in the pastor's participation and can be purchased on a standalone basis and how those work. And then we have the healthcare plans and the medical plans. And so the medical plans, let me just say something about those. For lay employees, you can purchase any of those, the PPO Gold, the EPO Silver, the high deductible plan Bronze, as long as you as the employer pay at least 50% of the premium. And you can offer that to them. The ones marked in blue are offered to employees who work 20 hours or more. So if you have an employee who's, let's say, not a pastor, if you could buy the defined pension plan at this year or next year, it's going to be 8.5% of salary, or put them in the retirement savings plan where they can take voluntary salary reductions and put tax deferred dollars away. The death and disability plan, term life, and the temporary. The green that you see on the screen are the 3 that you as a church can offer to any employee who gets a W-2. They don't even have to work 20 hours, it's 5 hours. And you could offer those 3 things marked in green at no cost to the church. So that in annual enrollment, those employees could go in and say, oh, First Church Allentown, I work 10 hours or 15 hours a week. They're offering me retirement savings, dental, and vision. Well, let's see. Yeah, I do want to put some tax, save myself some money, put some of my salary into a retirement savings plan. I look at the dental plan, which the rates are going down in Pennsylvania because we've changed the way we price it. So for those of you who fill out your employer agreement, you'll see the prices under the dental tab in your employer agreement. It's a good deal. And then also the vision. And then the employee can choose if they want to buy it. Of course, you as an employer can always purchase that for them if you are generous to do so. And then the yellow, the last one, health savings accounts can only be offered with the high deductible plan. So if you have an employee that you're saying, we're going to offer 100% of the high deductible plan to our custodian, you might want to also offer a health savings account, which helps them put aside dollars for the deductibles and out-of-pocket costs. The flexible spending accounts can only be offered with the PPO and the EPO option. So those are the, do you all see the dots? I hope you see those. Let's talk a little bit about temporary disability. Temporary disability, many employees will use their vacation days or sick days to get to the 15th day. And at the 15th day, as you continue to pay their salary up until that point, and you're paying the premiums for the temporary disability, the policy will kick in with 60% of their salary. You as a church might have to make a decision on whether or not you continue to pay the other 40%, because the 60% will be paid directly to the employee. And this is just, this policy is salary replacement only. Okay. And so that goes up to the 90th day. The temporary disability, pastors don't need it, who are in pastor's participation or minister's choice, because it's included in their packages. So don't get confused that, oh, we should buy this for our pastor. They don't need it because it's already part of their package. But you can buy it on a standalone basis for any other employee who works 20 hours or more. And or a non-installed pastor who works 20 hours or more, who's not in pastor's participation or minister's choice, works at least 20 hours a week. Notice that it can be 100% employer paid or 100% employee paid. So you could offer this to your employees in your employer agreement and say, employer contribution 0, and then if they want this, they would have to buy it by a salary reduction by taking the premiums out of their paycheck. Here's one little wonky thing about this, and that is if the employer pays for temporary disability, the 60% benefit that is paid to the employee is taxable for federal purposes. But if the employee pays for the premium, the 60% paid on their salary is not taxed. It's just sort of a different way the federal government structures these things. But you'll notice at the bottom of the screen, 60% of employers offer some sort of temporary disability that many times will dovetail with workers' comp or some state mandated kind of coverage. Long-term disability run by Lincoln Financial, so it's seamless if somebody goes on a short-term disability and it turns into a long-term disability. Again, it kicks in on the 91st day, pays 60% of salary replacement directly to the pastor. The church, is saved that money. And then that will continue until the person's normal retirement age, which could be anywhere between 65 and 67 years of age, depending upon where they are. Because that, as you know, the government is raising the Social Security age slowly. Mine is 66 in 4 months. My daughter's is 67. So it's continued to move on up. Long-term disability is very reasonable, but it's paid entirely by the employer, meaning the employee can't buy it. This is one of the best deals that the board is offering this year, and that is for a $40,000 a year salary on a lay employee, the yearly cost is $140, period. So I'm talking to a lot of churches and presbyteries who, for some of their 20-hour to 30-hour people who don't have medical or other kind of benefits, they're purchasing the long-term disability just as a protection for that employee because the cost is so minimal. 70% of employers offer long-term disability benefits to their employees. The other option, since pastors are covered by death and disability coverage, what's an employer supposed to do for a part-time custodian or for others? Well, if they work 20 hours, this is another option. It's term life coverage. And it is very reasonable. It's 20 cents for every 1,000. So for $10,000 coverage, it's $24 a year. For $25,000 coverage, it's $5 a month or $60 a year for $25,000 worth of coverage. So some churches I'm talking to, they are buying the term life for their employee and the long-term disability. So it might cost them $24 or $60 for up to $25,000 and then $140 to give them 60% salary replacement on the long term. So for a very minimal cost, a lot of churches are opting to do the term and the long-term coverage. Whomever in your church is filling out the employer agreement, they need to know what benefit groups there are. And so when you go into your employer agreement, the first grouping is for installed pastors. And that's pretty easy to figure out because the package is put together and all of the benefits are included in the package except for like the optional ones like dental or vision. But the pension, death and disability, temporary disability, medical, it's all included in the pastor's classification or benefit. Then there's non-installed pastors classification or benefit group, and it could be a temporary pastor. It could be a pastor of visitation. Working 20 hours or more, they're eligible for minister's choice, and we're going to talk about that. And that does not include medical. So this might be an option for a small church, a large church with a part-time minister on staff, or for small church on staff, or even specialized ministers. On the other hand, we move over here to the other column, and when it comes to other staff, you get to set the benefit groups and the benefits that are offered. So you know that if you have, you can say 35 hours or more by hours, we're going to offer medical, death and disability, and pension. You could set another classification for 30 to 34 hours and say we're only going to offer member-only medical, not member family, and we're going to not do the pension, but we're going to do a 5% contribution to retirement savings and, let's say, long-term disability. You could create another classification between 20 hours and 29 hours and have a different array of benefits. And even within that group, let's say you have 5 employees that work 25 hours and you've set a classification or group for 20 to 29. And one's worked 10 years and the other one is a new hire. Within that classification, you could grandfather in, or in your personnel policy say, any employee that works 10 hours or more in that classification, we're going to sweeten the pot and add 1 or 2 more benefits if they work with us 10 years. A new hire might get X, Y, and Z, but if they stay there for 5 or 10 years, whatever your personnel policies, if they hit that threshold, then some other benefits can be added. But you get to choose, and you can structure your employee agreement to fit your context and your staff, whether it's 3 people or 20 people, whether it's 1 installed pastor and 2 part-time people and 1 person under 20 that you want to offer vision and dental to. Preschool teachers are offered dental and vision. Youth directors, church secretaries, administrators, business administrators. So those are some of the things that you can do. Any questions on what I've said so far?
Yeah, Doug?
Yeah.
I assume this is a PowerPoint presentation.
Yes,
Um, are the slides available, or is there
I
some?
can. I can tell you what. If any of you want a copy, just send me a note in my email, so I will then have your email to dports@pensions.org, and just say I'd like a copy of the PDF that you shared, and I will be glad to attach it and send it right back to you. So, and that way I'll have your email. Okay.
I'm also recording this.
Okay.
So if anybody wants a link to the recording so that you can have other people watch it, then
that'd be great.
I'll do that.
That'd be great. So these on your screen are the 3 benefits you can offer to employees at no cost to the church, no hourly requirement. All they have to do is get some kind of W-2 from the church, even if it's $1,000. Let's look at a couple examples. Let's look at a full-time employee, 35 hours a week. Let's say you want to offer all the benefits I just put up on your screen. You want to offer them participation in the retirement savings plan. You want to buy a minimal amount of the temporary disability for their salary, long-term, term life, dental, only the member-only cost, vision eyewear, member-only cost, medical coverage, EPO, member-only cost, health FSA, dependent FSA. Let's look at a couple scenarios. Scenario 1, minimum employer contributions. It would cost $3,645 to offer them and all of those benefits you see at the top of your screen. Scenario 2, all benefits are employer paid. Okay, not the minimum, like I said, for the medical plans, it's 50% of the premium, but if you paid it all, it'd be $7,908 per person. And scenario number 3, if you offered a retirement savings plan match, it would be $8,508 per person. So that's how you can structure your plans depending upon classification and what you offer, but you're in the driver's seat. Let's look at another. How would you build it for, let's say, a part-time employee at 15 hours a week? Let's say these are all the things that you could offer a 15-hour-a-week person. They're under that 20-hour threshold. Retirement savings, dental, vision, dependent. Scenario 1, no employer contribution. The only cost to you would be $47. And that's really the cost to set up the dependent care FFSA. Okay. Scenario number 2 is all benefits that the employer pay all the benefits, and that would be about $999 for all those benefits if you did all those things. And then if you decided to give a match for that employee, it's $1,999 per employee. Okay. So that's one way of setting up the benefits for people. Now, you're aware of pastors' participation. The dues are staying at 37% for 2021, 4th year in a row. But notice the red highlights on this slide. And this is where you, in your church, you may have to explain this to some employees who see these changes when they do their annual enrollment. But the pension percentage is dropping from 11% to 8.5% with no change in the number of pension credits the pastor would earn. Next year, you'll pay an 8.5% and the pastor will earn the same credits, or anybody in the defined pension plan will earn the same credits as if the church were still paying in the 11%. Then you have the death and disability, 1% temporary has been added to, that's new, to pastors' participation. The medical dues are going up, but because the pension percentage is going down, the overall percentage is 37%. Some pastors, believe it or not, even though we've put out numerous communications about this, I just got a call the other day, why does my pension percentage change and is it going to harm me? It's not, but you may get those kind of questions. And when they get in to do their annual enrollment, if they haven't been reading their emails and all the communications, this may surprise them. So, and then the new package is Minister's Choice. And I want you to notice on your screen, this first box is the same as Pastor's Participation. If you were to buy that this year, it'd be 12% of effective salary, but next year it's 10%. Notice it's everything but the medical. So this is for a non-installed pastor who, like a temporary pastor, a pastor of visitation, a contract pastor, a pastor in validated ministry would be eligible for this. But let's say your church hires a pastor of visitation for more than 20 hours, but they get medical through their spouse. This is an ideal situation for that person to have a pension, build up their pension, have all these financial protections, and save the church literally thousands of dollars because they don't need the one-size-fits-all pastor's participation. So the board is opening that up. Part-time ministers, likewise, are going to benefit from this because right now, many part-time pastors have not had access to reasonable cost for a defined pension. They haven't had temporary disability. They haven't had any of these benefits, but also because all the benefits in the middle box, those were benefits only given to pastors and pastors' participation. But now a pastor in part-time ministry can not only get the defined pension, death and disability at a reasonable cost, the door is now open for them to have access to literally tens of thousands of dollars through these programs to help them in their ministry. So that's 20 hours a week. Any questions on that? Okay, here's an example that if a pastor is part-time working 20 hours, their salary is $25,000, the cost to the church to put them in the defined pension plan, temporary disability, death and disability, EAP, all those things is $2,500. There's nothing like that out on the market, on the secular market. There's no product, no packaging of anything that comes close to the value that this is for people. If they get in, this is amazing that they would be able to be in this. Let me just explain to you, for a part-time pastor in the death and disability, if they go on full-time disability and they're in the plan getting the defined pension, they'll get that 60% of their salary given to them the rest of their life, but they will earn pension credits because they're both in the pension plan and the death and disability plan. They'll get pension credits the rest of their life until they retire. So they continue to add to their pension even if they become disabled in the minister's choice. That is amazing. So it's a huge value to them. And if you do have a CRE, I don't know if any of you have a CRE or even a CRE working on staff, but this just shows you the drop in cost for someone because of the percentage changes that we've been talking about. So you can see that the cost is dropping, and most of it's coming from the difference in the defined benefit plan dropping from 11% to 8.5%. Here's some dates you need to keep in mind. From now until October 9th, your church will need to fill out an employer agreement and send it in. You can send in 20, but it's the last one you send in that we have on record as of October 9th is the one we're going to pay attention to. And the other thing that I would just say to you is you can create different models, run them off, take them to your session, take them to your personnel committee. And so those models will show the cost. So if you're budgeting and you want to show different scenarios of offering different levels of coverage or different levels for different classifications, or even one church said, well, we want to offer 90% of member-only PPO, 100% of member-only EPO, and 100% of the high deductible plan, plus some like 75 to 80% coverage for member family in the high deductible plan. You can do that. but run off the different scenarios. Bring them into your personnel committee or the session, let them see the cost differential. Just as a reminder, remind pastors and employees, if you have some, to do the call to health. That needs to be done by that November 13th date. And their deductible for 2021 will drop by 1/3, which will save the average person $200, $300, $400. So it's not insignificant amounts of money. So remind them to do the call to health. And then when you do your employer agreement, you're going to go in and you're going to select the packages. You're going to hit on different buttons to look at the different programs and benefits that are offered. And this is what you'll see. Are you all familiar with this screen? When you get into Benefits Connect to fill out your employer agreement, this is what your church employer rep sees. And they start over here, and they start by creating benefit groups. And then they go through retirement programs. Are you going to put those people in the defined pension or retirement savings? Then you go over to other financial protection, temporary, term, long-term. And for each of these buttons, you as a church need to make a decision. So if the church employer rep has never shown the personnel committee how this process works, don't have them give the whole personnel committee the username and password, but maybe have them get into Benefits Connect to fill out the employer agreement and put it up on a large screen monitor in a room and let the personnel committee see the choices. Why should one person be the only one who sees the choices? And the prices. The prices for dental are in there. The prices for medical are in there. The prices for vision are in there. It's all in there, but sometimes only the church employer rep sees it, and they never share. They're private people to begin with, but many times they never share it with the whole committee. And so the committee doesn't really understand sometimes all the choices that they could have because it's never communicated to them. So the other thing that I would just say is, if you go, here are some resources that will help you. If you go to our website, www.pensions.org, and you put in the search engine the word toolkits, these are the list of the toolkits with all the resources under each one of them. And most employers go to toolkits, and then they go down here to church employers. And under church employers, it has flyers for you to put out for the staff to remind them of the annual enrollment. It has, for a new employee, steps to do the annual enrollment. Maybe they've never done it. There's one sheet that says, here's how to do your annual enrollment. So that's for a new, these are resources that you can give onto your pastor or staff to acquaint them. And then also this, within church employers, if you want more information about temporary disability, long-term disability, like a handout that describes the benefit and the costs, that toolkit lists them all so that you can immediately go there and click on it, and up will come a sheet that you can run off. And it will tell you all the details about, this is how long-term disability works, how you submit a claim, and how you get it. Click it away. Go to short-term or temporary disability. Here's what it is. Here's what it covers. Here's how you access it. All that is under Church Employer Toolkit. It's very helpful. Then last of all, enrollment and new hires. This is a new toolkit that the board has put on there so that if midway through the year you hire someone and then you put them in the system and then they have to go in and check off the benefits they accept, this toolkit will help you help them know what to do. Okay, so this is a toolkit. And if you haven't offered flexible spending accounts, there's a flexible spending toolkit with the forms, instructions on how to set it up through with the organization called Further. Okay, and so Further is the organization that takes the administrative burden off of the church. They manage the receipts, they give the debit card, they manage all of that, so that when the employee is in a flexible spending account, they go pick up their drugs at the drugstore, they just use the debit card, it comes right out of their account. That's how easy that is, okay? And I just want to say this, if you have people who are going to retire in your church, or you know some people, this is the slide that you want to give to them. And when I do the PowerPoint or send you the PDF, those of you who email me that you want it, these numbers, if you just put in our search engine on our website, PEN 103, up will come the booklets. And if you put in the search engine retirement planning, up will come a number of worksheets to help someone begin to think through all the questions that they need and all the planning that they need to do in order to think pre-retirement. So this is sort of a compilation of some of the main resources retirees ask for. And last of all, here, retirees, as we've opened up the plan, active plan members get all these, retirees get the middle column, ministers get these, but retirees now can get housing supplements, income supplements, retiree medical grants, and emergency grants. We've opened up eligibility even for those pastors and church workers who retire and have a pension, who can now have access to all of these resources in retirement. I can tell you that I get letters almost every week from the board to people, dear Mrs. So-and-so, your husband died. We see that you could use some income supplements. We're going to send you $800 a month for the rest of your life. The board does that. We'll even move people, a couple from their primary residence into a progressive care facility. We'll give them $20,000 to move if they don't have the resources to do so. So these are just some things to keep in mind. I thought I'd just say that about retirees, because many churches have people getting up there into their mid-60s and are beginning to think about, what does the board have there for me? Well, these are just a few. And here's my name again, my email. So if you want a PDF copy of this presentation, just take down my email, dports@pensions.org. That's my work cell. Please feel free to call me at any time. And if you get to your personnel committee meeting and you don't remember things that I've said to you, or things get a little fuzzy, you can watch the recording over again, or you can call me and I'll be glad to tune in to your personnel committee by virtual call or conference call. And I won't tell you what to do, but you tell me what you want to do and I'll tell you all the options of what you can do. Board is not in the business of telling people what they must do. We want to give a flexible plan and help them understand how they can best use it in their context. So that's pretty much my presentation. Are there any last minute questions before we close?
Can I ask a quick question? The person who's on this call, whose name in her is named Gemin, I don't know who you are.
I was just writing you a note.
Oh, okay.
My name is Cleo Demidont. The last name is Demidont. First name Cleo, Cleo. I'm the shared ministry treasurer at Jerusalem Western Salisbury Church in
Oh, okay.
Reverend Brown, Donald Brown, our pastor.
Okay.
Sent
I didn't recognize.
So that I could he sent me the link so that I could sit in.
Oh, good. Okay. I'm glad you're here.
Great.
I just didn't recognize you, and I wanted to make sure that I make sure to send the link to people. So if you don't mind putting your email address in the messages, that would be great.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or anybody else who wants to receive, make sure you receive the link to the video. Just put your email in there, and I'll make sure you get it. We'll put it out more broadly too, but just in case you missed that.
And if you do want the PDF, just email me and I'll immediately email it back to you. So, well, thank you for your time. And I hope that this has been helpful to you as you think through filling out your employer agreement and what you can do to support those who've been called by God to work in your church. Hopefully you can find ways of supporting them. These are extraordinary days. Churches are under a lot of stress. And so just the idea of taking care of each other during this time is really important. So I would pray that you would do that. Any last minute questions before I close this in prayer? Okay, let me close this in prayer. Gracious God, we thank you for being with us on this call. We know that even though we're miles apart, that your Spirit unites us in our work to serve you and your church. Be with all those on this call, that they might be strengthened for ministry, be with their churches, pour out your Spirit upon them so that they might be a light for Christ in their respective communities. We pray that as the year rolls on, that we might be strengthened by you to deal with what comes so that your work might continue and your love be shared. Bless all on this call and their churches. We pray in Christ's name. Amen. Thank you. I'll let you all go.
Okay. Thanks so much, Phil.
Okay.
And I think I have
Most
people's information. So thanks.
Okay. Take care, everybody.
Take care, guys.
Thank you.